Great game. 50 seconds to go. Hurts. Deep shot. Hauled in. Devontae.
Sure. Before the press conferences even start. I mean, we could talk for 45 minutes just about how atrocious the defense is.
And good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media. We're live, as always, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. You know the drill. Smash that like button, smash that share button, retweet button. Head over to YouTube, hit the thumbs up. Make sure you hit subscribe on YouTube, and that's the best way to get your comments heard right on the show. You put your comments on the YouTube page. I can put them up right like this, Trending in the AM. It's the example, best damn morning show in the biz. It might be an example of a comment, but it's not wrong in saying that at all. That's how we get your comments in on the show, because we got a jam-packed show with more variety of topics. Again, football, baseball, basketball, all on the agenda today. I am your host, Phil Stifel, at Beard of Knowledge on Twitter. My co-host, Jason Voorhees, at Mustang3651. We're brought to you, as all shows, on DSM Media by Manscaped, the leader in men's grooming products. Check them out, manscaped.com. Use promo code DSM at checkout to get you 20% off, free shipping, and lets them know Team DSM sent you. So very important you put that promo code in, DSM. Lots of promo codes out there. Use the one from your favorite podcast network and your favorite morning show, Trending in the AM, DSM, to get that savings there. We got lots to talk about today, Jason, but how you doing today? Because I know you're a busy man. You're really busy. Great second show of your new podcast last night. Went pretty well, I think.
Yeah, it was a blast. I mean, I like the fact that we're kind of bringing other elements besides sports to a show, and I think it kind of gives the audience another added topic to kind of engage in. So definitely a great show.
Bring up other topics. It's good to have other conversations from time to time. It doesn't always have to be just straight Sixers or just straight Flyers all the time.
Yeah. So last night we did best Philly cheesesteaks, and we got a lot of.
I'm hoping you explain to your listeners that Pat's and Geno's are not the number one cheesesteaks in Philadelphia.
Absolutely did.
Good. Because that's such a common misconception about Philadelphia, that Pat's and Geno's are the place to get your cheesesteaks. And honestly, they're probably the worst places to get your cheesesteaks.
Yeah. Best tourist place to go.
They're not even tourist place. They're tourist traps.
Well,
honestly. I don't think I've ever had a good cheese. The only time I ever had a good cheesesteak from Pat's or Geno's was at 3 a.m. when I was drunk coming off of South Street in college. And that's because I didn't understand or like what I was or care what I was putting in my body. They're not good. So
yeah, it's just funny because like last week, I believe it was, I don't know if it was whatever the visiting team was that played the Sixers, they did a selfie and they like in front of Pat's and Geno's. It's just funny how you're right, it's the misconception, and it's generally from people that are outside of Philly that aren't in the know.
Absolutely. Anyway, excellent job on the show last night. Real quick though, then when you go out and order a cheesesteak, what do you put on your cheesesteak?
Well, the funny thing is I can't eat cheese, so I know. So
can I get anybody out there want to be my new co-host?
I get it with. So I like fried onions.
Fried onions, just that's it. To me, I like it a little different. I'm a fried onions. I'm a hot pepper, so I like the little yellow banana peppers, a little bit of ketchup, and a little bit of mayonnaise, and obviously cheese. Lots of cheese. But not Cheese Whiz. The people that get Cheese Whiz on their cheesesteak is either one American or provolone cheese on that cheesesteak. I'll even take mozzarella cheese, but definitely not Cheese Whiz.
Yeah, but it's funny because like I was saying on the show, you could probably take a poll of someone's best or favorite cheesesteak place, and you're probably gonna get, if you polled 100 people, you're probably going to get 65 different answers. It's very wide range.
Absolutely.
Because there are so many great places. And even the deep cuts and the sleepers, your mom and pop. I mean, dude, I'm sure your pizza place has great cheesesteak.
Absolutely.
And that's what it is. It's it's one of those things where it's since it's a staple, there's so many. So yeah, it was fun, but we got the next show lined up next week. We're going to be doing best hoagies. So hopefully everybody checks in.
Not subs, hoagies, not grinders.
Hoagie, yeah.
All right, so today's National Calendar Day. Before we get into the sports topics of the day, you're a big music guy, okay? So am I. I mean, obviously, you host Sports and Metal podcast. You're into your third season of doing that with Aaron, which is it's a great podcast mixing sports and music together. But today is National the Day the Music Died Day. Okay, for people who don't know what this is the day that Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and J.P. Richardson, aka the Big Bopper, passed away in a plane crash in 1959. I don't know about you, but I am a huge Buddy Holly fan and a huge Frankie Valens fan. And this day always reminds me of losing three super talented musicians, and not just talented musicians, revolutionaries, because they were changing the music game in the 50s and changing the way it was done. I always like to imagine what music would be like if a great musician did, because so many musicians pass away way too soon, whether it's a plane crash like this or a drug overdose or whatever it is. We lose way too many musicians too soon. And if someone like Buddy Holly didn't go at such a young age, what would have the music scene have been like in the next 10, 15 years after that? And his influence continued to reign over the music world. So that's the national day that I want to focus on today. It's not a very fun, positive thing, but it's a sad day, but it is something that I like to bring up every year.
Oh no, and it's good to pay tribute to people, and I think you nailed it. Like it's sad enough when you lose one musician that in their prime, but to lose three at one time. I mean, obviously that's why they call it the day the music died, because three musicians
famous in the American Pie song from John McClane. Yeah, Don McClane. Sorry, John McClane is Bruce Willis's character in Die Hard. Kind of messed that one up there. Don McClane,
okay.
American Pie song, paid tribute there to them there in that song. But yeah, it's just I don't know if you ever watched. I'm sure you did the Buddy Holly movie with what's his name, the crazy man. Why can't I think of his name? Who played Buddy Holly? He was in the first Lethal Weapon movie. He played the bad guy in it. He was in Point Break with I don't know why I can't think of his name now, but Gary Busey. Gary Busey played him. So yeah, it's a great movie if you ever want to learn. I mean, all movies take some things to, creative, light to some of the stories and all, but it's a great movie and everybody should check it out.
Absolutely.
All right, that's all the sad and side things to get out of the way. We got to get into talk of sports, obviously. So yesterday we spent a lot of time on the Brian Flores situation. And we're going to continue to talk about that as the week and weeks go on. But yesterday, Hugh Jackson, former Cleveland Browns coach, came out and spoke about, the part of the Brian Flores thing of him being offered. Brian Flores was offered $100,000 bonuses per game he lost because they wanted to lose, they wanted draft picks, etc. So Hugh Jackson came out yesterday and did an interview and talked about how he's got proof that a similar thing was put forth for him. And if everybody remembers his first 2 years in Cleveland, Hugh Jackson went 1-32. They had a 1-15 season and an 0-16 season. And it's really hard to go 0-16 in the NFL. You can easily luck into a win. It's really hard to go 0-16. And they were able to get first-round picks back-to-back years. They got Myles Garrett. They got Baker Mayfield. But he went into length about how the team and the ownership of the team was putting bonuses out there, and criteria. You'll get a bonus if we lose no game, if we win no games. If we have a team that he put in the interview that, if we had the youngest team in the league, average age-wise, you'd get a bonus. If you do this or that, you'll get another bonus. And you go listen to the interview on ESPN because, again, he says he's got plenty of proof for this as well. He says he would join the Brian Flores lawsuit if necessary. The thought process now that we've had two coaches in the matter of 2 days come out and openly talk about behind-the-scenes politics of being told, we want you to lose games. And the thought process that I'm having is, does this happen more in sports than we realize? I know as Sixers fans, we know about the process. We know the tank, and they started using with Hugh Jackson, Brian Flores, the term tank yesterday, and we know that we're way too well here in Philadelphia during the Sam Hinkie era. But the thing with the Sixers was, the Sixers came out and basically said to the fans, we're stripping it down, we're going bare minimum. They gave you the process. They told you what they were doing.
They openly.
And Brett Brown was told, you've got the opportunity. Brian Flores or Hugh Jackson was fired after doing the tanking. Brett Brown was sold. This is what we're going to do. But you're going to be here for the rewards. You're going to be given a chance once the process pays off and we get Ben Simmons, we get Markelle Fultz, we get Joel Embiid, these top picks. You're going to be given the opportunity. So develop your culture, develop your system, and then when you get talent, you're going to have the opportunity to lead that talent. So first question, do you think this happens a lot more than we realize in sports?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it happens. I'm sure it happens across all leagues like NBA, MLB, NHL. I know it happens. I've seen it happen in the NHL, and obviously now in the NFL, we're seeing a couple of cases here. I think you nailed it. I mean, the difference with the Sixers was that they openly tanked. Like basically, like you said, they told everybody they were tanking. Like, so it was out in the open. It wasn't behind the scenes. It wasn't shady. It was basically like, okay, well, this is a means to an end. This is how we're going to get better. And, part of me understands that philosophy, obviously, because getting higher end talent can help your team get better in a quicker fashion and get you from the doldrums to maybe possibly being a good team for an extended period of time. I understand the philosophy behind it. I guess the difference is in the situations is that, especially these two cases that are coming out now with Flores and Hugh Jackson, is that it's exactly what you said. Like, these guys are being told to tank, but then they're not being able to reap the rewards afterwards, and they're being fired. So it's basically like they're lame ducks.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more than that. I think it's the fact that they're being told to purposely lose, and if you do listen to what we tell you to do, we'll secretly give you more money. That's what really drives me nuts about it. Hugh Jackson in his interview, I'm trying to find, like, I listened to it today, but I'm trying to read the transcript to find exactly what he said. But basically what he said along the lines was there was a pool of bonus money for different things. Losses, if you got the first round draft pick, if you had the youngest team, et cetera, like I already said. And he said, no, use that bonus money to sign more players. And they said, no, that's not what we want. So it was money that could have gone to improving the players, improving the team. That's the problem. If you openly talk about, hey, you tell your fans, you tell your team, you tell your city, look, this is the process we're going through. We are going to strip it down to get to the bare bottom so we can build it back up with the youth, with the draft picks. Hopefully, luckily, one or two of the picks, Myles Garrett obviously worked out. He's a really good defensive end, one of the top in the league. Baker Mayfield, debatable whether he's a franchise quarterback or not, but at least he's serviceable as a quarterback. Just like with the Sixers, Joel Embiid, obviously ultra elite. Ben Simmons had potential, just head case, and then Markelle Fultz didn't work out. So getting all the picks doesn't necessarily mean, but it's the fact that this being done secretively behind closed doors when Brian Flores has been out in the public saying, we're trying to win, but yet behind closed doors, ownership is telling him, no, you're not trying to win, and that's the problem I have with it. It wasn't okay for the Sixers to do what they did. I mean, it got us to a point where we are now, but they were open about it. They didn't hide anything. If you were paying money to go to a Sixers game, which I don't know why you would, because back then you could get tickets for like 10 cents on StubHub back in the day, but they were open and up front with everybody. So you knew what you were going to see. And these teams, did not, they're very quiet and shady about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right too. That like the money aspect, the fact that they're saying, we're going to pay you a bonus if you tank. That to me makes it like even more or less integral, like to the game as far as like attacking the integrity
of the game. Absolutely.
I think that's where the main problem lies. I agree. It's just crazy that, like I said, I've been saying this for a while now that it's kind of what I want the Flyers to do is tank openly because, they lack such high-end talent. And really the only way to improve high-end talent is to get those first round picks, because the more you get, the better shot you have of hitting on at least one of them. And that's, something that, like I said, is it happening across all leagues and we don't know it? Yeah, I mean, I think it does. Like, I think hockey teams, you see it a lot. But is it happening more in the NFL, without us knowing? I mean, well, I think this just proves that it is. I mean, if this is 2 teams, how many other teams do you think have done it? I mean, you look at teams that have been bad for so long, like, I don't know, like teams like the Lions, teams like the Jets,
right?
Teams, who am I missing?
I mean, the Lions team that they put out there this year. I mean, I'm sure Dan Campbell, I love their new coach, in Detroit. I mean, really fiery energy, great, great locker room leader of a coach, it seems like. But I mean, that was not an NFL caliber team they put out there this year.
No.
So
despicable.
But the difference is, though, and this came up yesterday when we talked about Brian Flores and the racism in football, is that a black head coach has a lot shorter of a leash with ownership than a white head coach. Brett Brown in the NBA, he was given the 3 years of the process to lose. I mean, they won 10 games one year. I think they went 10-72 one year. I mean, that's god awful. Okay, but he was given the opportunity to be there for the rebuild. Hugh Jackson, 1-15, 0-16. The next season, his third year, he was 2-4. I just looked it up when they fired him. So he actually had more wins in his third season in 6 games than he did the 2 previous seasons combined, and they fired him because now the process was starting to change hands and the leash was over. You did your job. We're going to bring in a different head coach now to lead the future of this team.
Well, and I'm sure a lot of it had to do with him balking against their wishes too. I mean, let's face it. It's been widely reported before this whole Flores thing even came out that there was a huge power struggle within that organization. Like, absolutely. Ownership, not only did what they're apparently being, obviously it's not proven yet, but obviously, it looks like there's strong evidence that it did happen, especially the tanking part, because what's crazy now is, like, in an almost hypocritical fashion, the NFL, who first came out the day the statement came out and said absolutely not, now all of a sudden they are investigating it. So what does that tell you? Like, they just changed their tune 360 in one day. So that's it. To me, the NFL has always been wishy-washy anyway.
I don't know. So Brian Flores was on First Take. No, what's the Mike Greenberg show? Yeah, either what the show hosted by Mike Greenberg. Get Up. That's the Greenberg. That's the Greenberg show. He was on there yesterday, and he was told, because he wouldn't agree to the losing for the $100,000 losses, the ownership went to him and said, "Yo, you're working too hard and trying too hard. Take our private plane, go on vacation for a few days." Seriously? I mean, you're gonna try to convince your coach not just to lose games, but to work less hard and go on vacation just to incentivize the fact that less work means the opportunity to lose more. It's crazy.
Absolutely. And then, obviously there was also the reports about Deshaun Watson. Obviously they talked about, the owner was, like, really wanting him. I mean, remember when all those reports were hot and heavy? Oh, Miami's going to be the destination for Deshaun Watson. It was like a 3-week period where it was like, and when there's rumors that when there's smoke, there's fire. Right. So it was happening. And it really came out that, Brian Flores did not want Deshaun Watson because, obviously he has his own beliefs and believes that, Watson would be bad for this team. Like, and he was kind of, actually a Tua guy. And rightfully so. I mean, you draft a guy, you got to give, we've been talking about it with Hurts. You have to give these guys somewhat of a leash. They have to. You cannot just keep going through quarterbacks. We've been there, done that. We've seen teams go there and do that. But the bottom line is that whole Deshaun Watson thing even pissed off the owner more. And so I think that's really what this was about. Like, basically Flores is, like, standing up to ownership and saying, I'm not going to do it that way. And he's fired. And we talk about this so much in the Eagles. Like, why did the Eagles hire Nick Sirianni? Because he's a yes man. He's not going to be a Brian Flores and stand up to, if Howie Roseman comes in and says, I want this,
And I want to bring
it's
George's
gonna
comment
happen.
back up here. Why would you not tank? There's plenty of incentive to tank. Absolutely. And that's what I brought up, the fact that, it wasn't okay. It sucked watching the Sixers during their tanking, for several years. But the Sixers were upfront about it. The Sixers did not try to sell the fan base that they were trying to win. If you remember, Brian Flores, even last year, there was talks that, he was trying to win. He was trying to make the playoffs. Why aren't you trying to, lose for playoff position or for draft positioning? And they're selling the fans trying to win when behind the scenes ownership is countering that and trying to do everything possible to lose. And I don't know a lot about the Browns and the Dolphins. I know Howie Roseman controls, game day rosters, and he has full say over the rosters. Did the Browns GM and ownership and the Dolphins GM and ownership, did they really have control over the rosters and all that kind of stuff? So that's something I don't know a lot of detail about, but it's selling a false bill of goods. If you don't you don't have to say, hey, we're going to purposely lose, because the Sixers never actually said we're going to lose. They just said we have a process laid out. That's where the process came from. This is the process we're going to use to get to a point where we are contending year in and year out. So they laid the groundwork, they laid the foundation, they explained it to their fan base. Obviously, the Dolphins and the Browns, and I'm sure a lot of other football teams and sports teams. This is not just football; it's basketball, it's baseball. We see it in baseball all the time. How many times is the Miami Marlins, or the Florida Marlins, whatever they're called nowadays? I mean, they've won a World Series and then stripped it down and started all over again multiple times. So, this happens in sports all the time. But the problem is the sneaky parts of it and the incentivizing coaches to purposely lose versus telling your fan base, this is what we're doing and why. And that's where it gets upsetting to me.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of takes away your trust in a league that is
your way of trusting a lot of people
running a great, obviously the NFL's, they're probably the richest corporation out there, and it just seems to me that more and more issues come out every year that make me kind of shake my head as far as what the NFL is doing and how it's being run. And I think it all starts at the top. I think that I think he's a buffoon, the commissioner. I think he's an absolute buffoon. Like
I don't know if I would call him a buffoon, because business-wise, I mean, no matter how many controversies come out, we could go back to Michael Vick coming back into the league with the Eagles, Colin Kaepernick, the NFL continues to make money. You got to remember one thing: Roger Goodell does not work for the NFL or the players or the fans. He works for the owners.
But that's part of the problem.
I have an employee, a driver. I mean, he's a football fan, but he doesn't know, details. You know what I mean? And I was trying to explain that what Roger Goodell is exactly. He is incredible at his job, but his job is to work for the owners.
But that's part of the problem, Phil. That's where I have a problem.
Right.
That's why these owners are getting away with whatever they want, and that shouldn't happen. It shouldn't. I get it. It's
I don't think we think he's calling the shots, George. I think the three of us all agree we know what the problem is, but the owners aren't going to take Roger Goodell out of power, because Roger Goodell every single year finds a way to make more and more and more.
They're not going to take him out of power because he does whatever they want.
Yeah, exactly. And he
lets them get away with shit.
What they want is more money. Billionaires just want more money, and that's what he does. He brings in the money, brings in the revenue. These TV deals he negotiates every few years. I mean, the astronomical numbers that these TV deals are worth. That alone, he'll never lose.
They should have
the guy is a fantastic commissioner, because the commissioner's job is to work for the owners.
But okay, and I agree that he's doing a good job doing what his job is and what it entails. I think there should be a committee that oversees this kind of stuff, because there's too much shady stuff going on in the NFL. There is.
I don't think you'll ever get it. You'll never get a committee, because
should Dan Snyder be an owner? Yes or no? Answer the question, right or wrong. Should Dan Snyder have a team, or should he be?
Yeah, he probably should not have a team. I mean, he's obviously a lot of stuff's being skirted under the rug there, obviously. And if anything, this whole Brian Flores thing, is, kind of pushing the whole Dan Snyder email scandals and John Gruden stuff off to the side. I originally thought that there should be like a checks and balances, kind of system. The commissioner should have somebody, that shares power with him that works for the players. But obviously that's never going to happen because the owners, if you watch, we want to talk baseball and the lockout and how that's happening. The owners control everything. And there's no way around that in all sports. The owners, it's billionaires fighting with millionaires. And if you have a billionaire fighting a millionaire, who's going to win every time? The billionaire. It's just simple as that. So we can hate it and all, but it's not like what's going on is slowing down the growth of the sport. It's not. The sport is growing and getting bigger and bigger instead of slowing down. So there's all these scandals, there's all these problems. That's why Roger Goodell, he's excellent at his job because no matter what controversy comes up, did the Dan Snyder reports or issues slow down TV ratings this year? No. So no matter what issues happen in football, Roger Goodell finds a way to continue to grow the sport.
Well, that's
why he's doing a great job.
That's because fans continue to go to games. I
think the fan ticket revenue is such a small part. A majority of the money brought in is on the TV contracts, and I've seen articles that ratings this year on all networks were through the roof. There's reasons why, like Amazon now, Amazon Prime or whatever the TV Amazon network streaming service is now going to be showing Thursday night football games. Literally everybody's getting a piece of the puzzle now, and they're all paying big dollars for this. So
basically, what you're saying is that there's no way to fix it. There's no way to. And you think Roger Goodell's doing a great job? See, I disagree. I think
he's doing a great job because he's doing his job is to work for the owners and make the owners money, no matter what. And he's doing a great job.
I guess that's where I'm at with it. I guess I don't like that. I don't like the fact that there's not. I don't like the fact that there's not somebody to look out for the players. Is what I'm getting at.
Well, that's the Players Association and the Players Union. But what power do they have? Because we can mold this conversation from football into baseball. What power do players' unions in all of sports have versus the owners?
Because
you look at it. You look at baseball. Obviously, they're in a lockout right now. I bring up one specific point of the negotiations. Okay, players in baseball want an arbitration, a pool of money for arbitration players. Okay. Yeah, exactly. You don't have to like it. You just have to accept it. We all have to accept it because that's just the way it is in the NFL. It's exactly correct.
Well, I don't have to accept what's going on with the racism and all that. You
don't have to accept any. You actually don't have to accept any of it. The only way to not accept it is to not watch it.
I don't like
completely boycott the sport.
I know, but here's where I'm at with it because we talked about it at length and we both agreed that there's a major problem going on here. And it stems from the fact that it's 32 white owners. That's a problem. And the fact of the matter is if they have the ringleader, Roger Goodell, who's doing their bidding, yeah, you're right. He is doing a good job. But there's got to be change. And that's where I'm aggravated. And I'm glad that Brian Flores is stepping up. Because somebody's got to make change.
This problem. The only way to solve what you think is the Roger Goodell or the commissioner in any sports with the owners, having the say is for a very large lockout or strike from a league, one where you sacrifice because hockey had its strikes. No, but real hockey fans care about hockey, but hockey fans make up such a small minority. If the NHL went away, so few people would really be upset about it. The NFL or basketball, maybe baseball, need a super long strike holding out till they get what they want. You look at it. So baseball, the player pool, so they want money to go to arbitration players, to the top arbitration players. Because of the way the whole, system works, your contracts, your time, and you're not a free agent until so late into your career and stuff. So the players wanted money for the top arbitration players. They wanted a $105 million bonus pool to go to the top guys that can't get more free agent money yet. And the owners came in, sure, we'll do a pool. We'll give you $10 million. In what good faith, if the players say $105 million and you come in at $10 million, that is so far from each other's numbers-wise. That just shows there's no good faith in negotiation there. And they've each budged on that number by like $2 million. The owners came up like $2 million, and the players came down. That just goes to show that owners and players, there's no good faith. And if you see it every single time baseball players meet in this lockout, they're willing to give in a little bit more on every single topic, but the owners just stand firm because they know they control it. The owners control it in all sports. If a football lockout happened or a strike, the owners could stand right here. They're billionaires. If they lose some money on their football teams, do they care? Yes, but they still got billions of dollars coming in from other avenues and sources of income. So the players always have to give in. So what it would take in football, baseball, basketball, would be the association holding out for some form of checks and balances being put in, to have the players' union head, to have equal rights to the commissioner. It's never going to happen, but that would be the starting point right there. It's just going to be really tough.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, they keep printing money. Exactly. I don't know what every owner's, other financial interests are, but we know they all. A lot of these guys, they make their money elsewhere, and owning a football team is secondary to them. That's just their fun. That's their hobby. It's, maybe not their hobby, but, it's their secondary form of income almost to an extent. So these guys are making billions of dollars, and it's not even their main source of income. So do you think they care about budget? They don't.
Yeah, it's just frustrating. It is. It's frustrating when, I guess that's why we have the right or the right to not watch or watch. And obviously, I love football, so
I'm never going to stop watching football. I'm not. Maybe I'll start watching the USFL when that comes out in April.
That's what's good about podcasts. Like, we get to voice our opinions and get it off our chest. Like, it is, like I said, I have to accept it. George is right, but I don't like it. I don't.
You only have to accept it if you want to watch the game still.
Well, no, I just don't like the fact that these things continue to come up, and it just seems like a lot of stuff gets pushed under the rug or isn't handled or addressed.
Right.
If things were addressed, maybe I would have a different opinion. And if it was more consistent. See, this is where I get annoyed. Like, they won't think twice about suspending a player or firing a coach or whatever when something goes down. But what happens to owners? There's no penalties. They should at least get a major fine. I get it that they're rich and a fine won't hurt their pocket, but you should send a message to some of these guys that, you can't do whatever you want. Yes, you are an owner, but you can't use, the N-word, or you can't do that. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like,
I understand what you're saying.
Because they shouldn't be able to do whatever they want and get away with it. That's all I'm saying. Because you and I can't do whatever we want in the real world and get away with it.
But billionaires don't live in the real world. And this, holding out, and this is exactly. It's why I say in baseball, I've been saying it since day one. There, with the lockout would end, most teams report, pitchers and catchers report right around Valentine's Day. About February 14th. That's less than 2 weeks away. And I kept saying over and over again, the baseball lockout wasn't going to last, and it's for this reason exactly. The players have so much more to lose in baseball, in football, than the owners do, because if billionaires lose a season, they lose millions of dollars. But if the players lose, these guys, they have a prime for such a small window.
You remember 1993?
Of course, 93 when the Phillies lost in the World Series.
I'm sorry, 94.
Exactly. I knew what you meant. I just wanted to call you out on that one.
You remember it?
I do.
Okay, and you remember baseball did lose a ton of fans and lost a lot of money.
Absolutely.
And why do you think it was so?
What did the owners?
Why do you think it was such a coincidence that the steroid era brought baseball back? Because and that's why it's frustrating that they're trying to ignore that and throw that out the window like it didn't happen.
The owners and the commissioner turned a blind eye to get the fans back in the door, and they got away with it. And a lot of fans stopped caring about baseball in 94, 95 there because of that strike. But the owner, it's not like any team, no owner went bankrupt because of it.
No. I got
a lot of the players struggled.
You're going to lose a lot of
those
fans.
Minimum level players had to go out and get jobs, regular jobs during the lockout. So that's the problem. The players in all these situations have so much more to lose because their prime, their window, their opportunity. Football players have 2 to 3 year window. Okay. Baseball players have a little bit bigger of a window, But baseball players, because of the way the arbitration system works and the free agency system works in baseball, the younger players, if they lose that opportunity in their early ages to develop and get to that big payday, then, they're losing out. So that's why the players always have to give in to the owners. And that's the problem in all these sports. Like I said, I didn't think baseball would go. But now, if you see Tuesday's meeting between the players and the owners, there was literally no wiggle room. The owners did not budge an instant. The players gave in on some of their financial things. The players gave in on this and that. But the owners didn't budge at all because they know that the players can't afford to miss paychecks. Owners, they miss out of some TV deal, a year money, whatever. But the players can't do that.
I'm not going to lie. I'm usually a pessimist when it comes to this. But coming into this year, when it first went down, the strike, even I was thinking, okay, there's no way that they're going to miss spring training. Well, now by all accounts and all reports, we're going to miss spring training or at least be delayed. And that to me as a fan is extremely disappointing because these guys know, like, you're right. They don't care. I got it. They don't care. And I guess that's where you have to kind of understand it as a fan, that they're living a different life. It's not reality, because it's the same thing with why I get pissed off about the Flyers all the time. But I also tell myself they don't care. If they did care, there would be change.
Exactly.
They don't. Because they're getting their money, and these leagues are getting their money regardless.
When you look at it, the key sticking points in baseball right now, the ones that a universal DH or playoff. The little things, they're easy to negotiate, but the big things all come around money. So the players want a player pool for arbitration. They want 105, 110 million. The owners offer 10 million. The players want the minimum wage for a baseball player to go up. It's $600,000 now. The players want $750,000 as the minimum wage. The players want the luxury tax threshold. Because there is no salary cap, the luxury tax threshold to go from, I think it's 210 to 245, because then that will give the owners the opportunity to pay more money to players instead of trying to stay under the luxury tax. The owners haven't come up at all on where they're at. The players every meeting come down a few $1 million on it, but the owners haven't budged, because why budge when you don't have to? Hey, that's right. Go Stars. I am working on bringing in some USFL players and coaches for interviews. We are going to cover the USFL draft February 22nd, 23rd, and we are going to support the Philadelphia Stars on DSM Media. No doubt about it.
Shout out to my boy Fred. That's my boy.
Freddie. We're going to call him Freddie. Freddie Defo. Okay? The players have no say. They have no room. And we're talking about it with baseball right now. But if they're this far apart, unless the owners just come out or the players just come out and say, fine, we'll sign whatever deal, we're going to miss the start of spring training. And if you start missing the start of spring training, that puts the start of the regular season in jeopardy. You stop that, now you're going to start talking about game checks and games being missed. So it's a domino effect. Am I wrong to say that they don't have any power, the players, in any of these sports?
No, I think you're 100% spot on. But it's mind-boggling that the owners can't, like you said. To me, it's good faith, and it's knowing the game, and it's knowing that you're in a business. It's knowing that there has to be negotiations. There's negotiations in any business. It's called bargaining, and
good faith bargaining.
Got it. Where you're saying that the owners kind of draw the line in the sand, but sooner or later, the owners have to say, you know what? Well, look what happened the last time when there was a strike. We did lose a lot of fans, and that did hurt the pockets of the league. It didn't make anybody go bankrupt, but do we really want that? Do we want to go backwards again when we've gained so much steam in a league that has kind of become...
We want replacement players again?
I just don't understand. And
replacement players,
they're both great. Like, both to me, like I will always side more with the players, because you're right, the owners have more money. But in the scheme of things, they're both great. Like, to me, it's like, if I'm making, and I guess I have to look at it as it's not really for the guys like Bryce Harper making $23 million a year. It's guys that are the minimum guys that you're really fighting for. Because let's face it, they're the guys that are kind of getting the shorty end of the stick.
Yeah.
Bryce Harper is going to live if he gets 23 million or if he gets 21 million or if he gets 19 million. He's going to live. It's fucking 19 million. Like, but the guys that are making the lesser money that want to make more, I get that. I do get it. But
I mean, these guys that are on minimum salaries, I mean, they put their heart and soul into baseball, and they see the guys making the bigger money, and they're trying to set up their family for a generation with this money, and they can't. The amount of time and effort, and I don't get upset when I see baseball players or football players making millions of dollars because of what time and effort they had to put into to get to that elite level. So, it is what it is to me, but, I really want to, before we end this part of the conversation, in football, in baseball, or in any sport, I really don't see the owners ever putting a checks and balances in place for them and the commissioner. Am I wrong to think that way? Or is there ever a thought process in your mind that you think that there's a scenario that can work where there's a checks and balances system in play?
I mean, I think it could work, but I don't think it'll happen because they're not going to let it. You're right. They're not, because they have all the power. If they did put a checks and balance system in, it would put owners on notice, and it would kind of, maybe you'd see an owner leave. Like, to me, I think you're right. Like the good old boys network, so to speak. Yeah. When things are working for you, why would they change it? Why would they? Like George said, why wouldn't you tank if you're bad?
Yeah, I get it all. I guess you said a committee. As I'm spitfiring and thinking, could you have, instead of a commissioner's team, where you have a guy representing the owners, a guy representing the players, and a guy representing, I don't know, management or managers, or a committee, 2 owners, 2 players, a former coach, a former umpire, something like that, and everything that gets done has to be voted on. I mean, that could solve some of these issues, but the problem is the owners would never approve of it. I just don't think they would.
No, it's power.
Yeah.
Basically, like, they hold all the cards. Like, they can do whatever they want as owners. And you're right, it's their money. I mean, who am I to say what Jeff Lurie has to do with his money? I mean, I can, as a fan, I can say what I want him to do, but I can't call Jeff Lurie. Yo, Jeff, Jason Voorhees, a Mustang 3651 on Twitter. You better freaking get rid of Rager now, or else. And click. It's not like it's gonna happen. I'm gonna get laughed at.
Yeah,
by them and you.
You would not get past his secretary. You wouldn't get past his secretary's secretary. And obviously, George, you're right. They would lose control. And that's why it would never work. But it's just the thought that could potentially be the answer to the problem.
It would definitely make it better. It would definitely make an improvement, but it won't happen. So I guess it's one of those hypotheticals that we say, why do we bother even bringing it up? Because in the scheme of things, it'll never happen. I mean, less like, I think that, the way that we can get progressively better is to kind of get more diversity in the ownership realms. I mean, that in all sports,
that actually could help.
That could help. Like,
absolutely.
But it's going to be a long time before that happens if we continue on the same trajectory that we have.
Like we said, to be an owner in any of these sports, well, baseball, basketball, and football, I don't know what hockey's rules are, but to be an owner in these sports, not only do you have to have the money, but you got to be voted to the table by the other owners. And that's the problem there too. That that just boggles my mind that that's even a rule. If I wanted to sell my pizza shop to you, Jason, I don't have to go to the other pizza shops in my town and be like, "Yo, can I sell my pizza shop to Jason?" If I make a deal with you, I make a deal with you. The fact that that's a rule there, it just boggles my mind in all sports. So, like I said yesterday, it would take, somebody brought up yesterday, LeBron being the first black, NFL team owner. Obviously, I think it would take a celebrity to be the one to get that seat at the table, because they're not going to want to bet the bad publicity. LeBron gets voted against being an owner. Well, LeBron then would use his publicity and his star ability to bring even more light to the problems at the table.
But I will counter that with saying that even that would be difficult. Even LeBron, I think, would be an extreme difficult thing, because you saw it in baseball. A-Rod wanted to buy the Mets.
Yeah.
A-Rod and J-Lo, and you think they don't have enough money?
Yeah.
And they were voted out. They got turned down, and Steve Cohn got the bid. Now,
and Jordan's comment here: the only power we have is to stop buying the product. The product is too good. This is exactly the problem. I just told Jason, if you don't like it, stop watching, stop talking about it, whatever. And I forget what team it was. I think it was the Packers. I don't remember what team it is. I read a story. This was a couple years ago. That a topic like this that will stop sell your season tickets. Maybe it was even the Eagles. Don't renew your season tickets. And I saw a thing. There's let's use the Link for example. There's 65,000 seats at the Link. Okay, there's probably about 35, 40,000 of them that are season ticket holders. Okay, there was enough season ticket holders in the wait list that they could turn over all season ticket holders 3 times and still not go through every single person on the list that was on the wait list to get season tickets. So even if every season ticket holder said, I'm not buying my season tickets next year, there's 100,000 people in line already on the wait list with deposits in to get their season tickets of the ones that are let go of. So it doesn't matter if a few of us stop boycotting it. The product is so good. The sport is so entertaining. We live, the entertainment on Sundays or every night with baseball and basketball. The sports entertain us. They take our minds off of our other problems in the world and other problems in life, and they give us an outlet. And it doesn't matter that the boycotting theory just never works. It just doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, well, I have done it with the Flyers. Like, I will not go to another game, and I will not buy merchandise. Like, I've made a stand for myself, my personal self.
But you're one of
I know. I'm not going to make a difference.
You're making a difference because you're one of 5 Flyers fans in Philadelphia. There's 5 million Eagles fans versus 5 Flyers fans. Sorry, I'm not trying to dig at the Flyers. Hold on. I'll give you 3 seconds. What's up with Flyers?
Well,
they got a win streak of 2 games. All right, let's take that off the screen. When they get to 3 games, maybe we'll spend some time talking about the Flyers. Oh man.
Yeah, I know.
The players have no control. The fans don't have any real say because honestly. I mean, I'm sure the ratings for football this weekend, because of the championship, the divisional round games, I'm sure the championship ratings were through the roof. I'm sure the Super Bowl will have great ratings. It always does. It just doesn't matter. You can't boycott us. You can boycott the sport, but a few of us boycotting. You look at baseball. You brought it up with the steroid era. The owners, they saw their revenues dipping a little bit, so they turned a blind eye to steroids, and it brought everybody back. They'll find sneaky ways. If we're going to talk about Brian Flores and Hugh Jackson being secretly told to lose games and have bonuses, you're telling me that some of the owners met with who was the commissioner during the steroid era? What's his name?
Dave Vincent?
No, he wasn't the commissioner back then. Let me Google search this here. MLB commissioner list. There it is.
Vincent.
Yeah, no. It was it was Francis. No, Vincent was 92. He ended in. It was Bud Selig. Bud Selig. Sorry, I don't know how I forgot Bud Selig's name there. Bud Selig basically oversaw it. Yeah, George. I mean, seriously, he has to drop $3,000 to come watch an Eagles game. But you know what? He enjoys it. He loves it. So he's not going to stop doing that. I mean, I bet you he wishes it was a little bit cheaper. But you're telling me that baseball owners, some of them didn't get together with Bud Selig and be like, yo, I know there's some stuff going on, but just let it go. Just turn a blind eye. Here's a little bonus. Don't do anything about the steroids. Don't worry about it right now. We'll deal with it later. We need this excitement. We need that Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa home run chase that year to get the butts back in the seats. This kind of stuff happens. The colluding between owners, commissioners, owners, and all and coaches and owners and GM. This stuff happens. There's no doubt about it. Again, it all comes back to the billionaires.
Well, listen, man. I think we've talked enough about that. Why don't we talk about Bradley Beal?
Yeah, let's. I mean, we only got 10 minutes left.
I know we got 10 minutes.
We put 50 minutes talking about owner. Actually, but real quick before we talk Sixers and Bradley Beal, I just want to say, I thoroughly enjoyed doing this morning show, especially with you, Jason, and all the listeners, George, Drew, my new man, Freddie Defo, anybody that tunes in on the show, I love it, and I love the ability that we don't have to just talk Eagles, Sixers, Phillies ad nauseum every single. We could bring up these kind of topics and talk 50 minutes. about ownership and what it is. This just made my day being able to have this conversation with you about these topics, because it's just refreshing, because you listen to sports talk. I know, George, you can't listen to sports talk radio. I mean, unless you do it on the internet over there in England, but they talk about the same thing over and over again. Over and over again.
Yeah, they're still talking
Over
about
and over
Jalen
again.
Hurts.
Jalen Hurts or Carson Wentz. Who would you prefer as your quarterback? I mean, they do it every single day.
Ad nauseam.
Earlier this week, it was, who would you rather as your coach? Nick Sirianni, Doug Peterson, or Chip Kelly? That was the best they could do as a conversation for the day.
It's ad nauseum.
You don't have to talk that when you're talking sports. You could talk these Sonny's. I actually have not had a Sonny's cheesesteak before. I've heard really good things about Sonny's cheesesteaks. Can you do better? I mean, D'Alessandro's and Jim's are my personal favorite.
Yeah, that was my pick.
D'Alessandro's makes great hoagies as well. And there's a couple locations now. It's funny. We're probably not going to talk about Bradley Beal and the Sixers now, because you're bringing cheesesteak question back up.
It's all good.
So, we used to go to the Outer Banks every single year in North Carolina, very, very southern parts of the Outer Banks. My wife and I, we got married down there, family trips down there all the time. And my father-in-law would bring a giant cooler full of D'Alessandro's hoagies and cheesesteaks down there, because all the fishermen, I think they did one of those one of the seasons of that charter fishing show that's on like A&E or whatever, did a season in the Outer Banks, because there's so much fishing that goes on down there. He would bring a cooler full of sandwiches from D'Alessandro's, and all the fishermen would just line up to get their cheesesteaks and hoagies from D'Alessandro's, because that's how good they are. And they would look forward to that once a year when the Slazak family, my in-laws family, would make that trip to Hatteras just to get their stuff. Yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
The cheesesteak part, you got, yeah. As long as you're not going to Pat's and Gino's, that's all that matters to me. That's all. When George, when next time you come over here to the States, me and Jason, we will take you on a tour of cheesesteak places. That's all we'll do. We'll just get in the car and we'll drive around Philly and go to all the best cheesesteak spots, and maybe some other good restaurants as well, and just give you a real taste of real Philly cooking. That's what we'll do. And when I come over to England, you can give me a tour of all the pubs and all the best places to get a pint, and that'll be the trade-off. I think that's a fair deal, right?
That's a great deal.
Yeah, I think it's a great deal. We'll do a live show in the car, going from cheesesteak to cheesesteak place, having George's reactions to all the cheesesteaks, and then we'll end at Pat's and be like, "You just had all these great cheesesteaks. Now try this Pat's and see what you have to say." And I guarantee you'll be like, "Bleh," Bleh. All right, real quick, because we got 5 minutes to talk Bradley Beal. We don't even have to talk about the fact that the Sixers lost last night. I put out a tweet last night on Twitter. Would rather argue Eagles with Jason. Yeah, I mean, we all love to argue Eagles with Jason. It's fine.
We could still do that in the car.
We'll do that. Yeah, exactly. We could absolutely do this. So I put out a tweet last night. There's rumors that Bradley Beal now is back on the table for the Sixers. We know that the Sixers need a star to go with Joel Embiid. And I know, George, you're not a big Sixers fan and fan of the talks, but I think you'll agree with me. You do what you can to win. You get that star in here. You need that elite quarterback with the Eagles. You need that elite guard to go with Joel Embiid. And I put out there, I would be willing to trade Tyrese Maxey, the hottest young star in the NBA, the hottest young star in the Sixers, 21-year-old Tyrese Maxey, who's not going to hit his prime for 3 more years. He's playing great basketball, but he still has flaws in his game. He's still got to develop and grow. If you got a commitment, because Bradley Beal is a free agent at the end of the season, but he could sign and he could trade, you could get that extension locked in with the trade. I would include Tyrese Maxey in a trade to get Bradley Beal here. 28 years old, Bradley Beal, elite scorer, guy that can average 30 points a game, can get his own shot, can do pretty much anything with the basketball. You get him here and guarantee 2 or 3 years of Bradley Beal and Joel Embiid side by side, your chances of winning a title in the NBA go from good to great immediately. So I would do the deal. I know it's an unpopular opinion. I love Tyrese Maxey more than anybody, but I would do the deal. I would include him with Ben Simmons to get that deal done. No doubt about it. I would have done the deal last night so that when Washington left the city last night, Bradley Beal just stayed here. Jason, what would you do?
Is that the sticking point right now?
The rumors say that's the sticking point, that the Washington wants more than Ben Simmons. And the rumors say that they're offering Ben Simmons in a draft pick or Ben Simmons and Matisse. But Washington, because they're losing their star guard, want a young guard in Tyrese Maxey to build around.
Okay,
I don't think the Wizards want Ben Simmons.
Here's the Sixers option. You make this trade, include Maxey. with like you said, the promise that Beal would sign long term. Okay,
and that's the only way I do it.
Okay, but here's the deal: or you make that trade and Beal doesn't sign long term, so you get Beal for a half a season.
Yeah,
they possibly don't do anything in this playoffs. You lose Maxey, and then you think that you're getting Harden next year, and then he signs elsewhere, and then you're screwed. And you're to me, I don't know, man. I'm a little torn because I'm very high on Maxey. I am.
I think Tyrese Maxey in 3 years, 4 years, when he's 24, 25 years old, may be one of the top 3 or 4 guards.
Tyrese Maxey could be better than Bradley Beal.
Absolutely. But in 3 or 4 years, Joel Embiid's going to be 33 years old. We don't know what his knees and ankles and back are going to be like. Big men. What about feet and big men? But feet and big men go so quickly, especially types like Joel Embiid.
So would you rather make that deal, or would you rather wait it out and then get Harden for Ben Simmons?
I mean, I think the deal I would personally prefer to make is Ben Simmons for Bradley Beal straight up with no guarantees on the extension. Just a straight swap. But the thing is, the Wizards aren't going to do that. They may come down closer to the deadline next week, but there's no way that I'm including the other pieces if we don't have the extension. I would take the Ben Simmons for Bradley Beal with no guarantees straight up for the rest of this year, and then you've got the ability, if he doesn't stay, then you've got 2 targets. You're trying to get Bradley Beal, or you got James Harden in your back pocket to try to get.
Why can't you tell the Wizards that, okay, we'll give you Simmons, Tybal, and a first rounder?
Well, now that's a little too much. It's either Matisse, Tyrese Maxey, or the first rounder, one or the other. Because he's a free agent, Ben.
I don't think it is too much.
I would do that. I would do Ben shaking a first in a heartbeat. But again,
what if
might not do that?
But what if you get the extension and you say,
if you get the extension, look, I'm the kind of guy. George said it. You sound like you're wasting Joel Embiid's prime. We absolutely are potentially wasting Joel Embiid's prime. I know I talk about how Joel Embiid's playing at that Allen Iverson level from 2000, 2001, but in this day and age, realistically, one star cannot carry a team to a finals anymore. You need that star. Bradley Beal is that star. Dame Lillard is that star. James Harden, I'm not a big James Harden fan. James Harden's a star. You need to go get an elite guard right now. Win a title now, this year or next year. The Eastern Conference is wide open. The Sixers can win the Eastern Conference this year. Only if you pair another star.
Yeah, that's a tough one, Phil.
I'm willing to give up everything. I'm willing to give up everything right now to have 2 to 3 years of potential title-winning years.
Where's Scotty at on this? I'm surprised he's not checking.
Scotty's against giving up Maxey 100%. 100% against giving up Maxey. So he understands why I say it. He understands the thought process, and he agrees it would give us the best chance, but he's not willing to give up on Maxey.
Dude, I'm not. I don't think I am.
The only thing we have in our favor is, as the deadline gets closer, the Wizards are up against the clock to start moving players right now and to get into that rebuild, because there's no chance that Beal's staying there after this season. That's the only chance.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'd give up Maxey. I think Maxey, like I said, I think he's going to be elite.
Yeah, I agree. But
is better than.
He's 25 years old. Joel Embiid's going to be 33. Is Joel Embiid still going to be playing at this level when he's 33? I mean, hopefully, maybe, but doubtful.
And I get the rush too, and I understand the whole philosophy of wasting Embiid's prime. But what cost are you going to do? If you do that trade, there's still not a guarantee you win a championship. It's a guarantee.
There's never a guarantee in any sport that you win a championship.
Exactly.
You got to put your team in the best position to get that championship. I know, and again, I want to reiterate here because I'm going to get more.
I think Maxey. I'm not going to lie. I think Maxey might be out of all the because Maxey wasn't an actual quote unquote process pick, but Maxey might be the best draft pick they've had besides Joel Embiid out of that whole range of guys.
And him at 21, it's insane that he fell all the way to 21. Well, this part, Drew, I've been talking about this for months now, that it's not going to be most likely a Ben Simmons trade involved multiple teams because of what Daryl Morey wants. And just like I kept saying that baseball was not going to miss anything, I said there's no way Ben Simmons didn't make it past the trade deadline without getting traded. But here we are. what's today's date? The 3rd. We are 7 days from the trade deadline. He's still on the team. So every day creeps closer, the more likelihood that he's still here. It's crazy. And it's insane. And again, like I said, the Sixers lost last night. Bradley Beal didn't play last night. They lost to a shorthanded Washington Wizards team. Kyle Kuzma, 24 points for the Wizards last night. It's insane. We should not have lost that game. We should not have lost that game at all. But we did. So that's where we're at. We'll see. Maybe the loss is why I'm so hard on getting Bradley Beal as well. So I see that offensive, that missing piece on the offensive end really badly. So anyway, that's trending for the AM today. We spent a whole 4 minutes talking Sixers when I wanted to spend 30 minutes talking Sixers. But there's always tomorrow. Football Friday tomorrow. We'll have some football talk. For George sent me a link to an interview that the Inside the Birds podcast team did with Spielman, former GM of the Vikings, and he spent a little time talking about Jonathan Gannon and Jalen Reagor. So we're going to start Football Friday with that. We're going to talk a little bit about the Super Bowl because most Super Bowl talk we'll save for next year. We're going to talk about Jason Kelce opting out of the Pro Bowl and how pointless the Pro Bowl is. But maybe we'll make sure we spend a good 20 minutes at the end of the show to talk some basketball as well, because I got to get some more basketball talk in here because this topic is definitely going on. Anyway, we are brought to you as all shows on DSM Media by Manscaped, the leader in men's grooming products. Check them out, manscaped.com. Promo code DSM at checkout. Get you 20% off and free shipping. Make sure you check them out and let them know that Team DSM sent you. And Jason, excellent show today. I know I spent 2 minutes already saying it, but I loved today's show. The conversation was fantastic. And the fact that we talked something different, it just really energized me today. And I'm ready to knock it out of the park at work now today.
Absolutely. Me too. I go in late. So,
I go in like 20 minutes.
This definitely energized me. I love it. I love doing this morning show with you, man. And I think it's obvious that, the audience loves it. We're obviously, getting
views are going up. And that's what I need. I need everybody watching to make sure you follow.
Share it.
Not just us on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube. We need those subscriptions on YouTube. Again, got to get those numbers up there. But the followers and the listeners, we greatly appreciate. A lot of people I've been watching. We've had a really great viewership on Twitter today, and I appreciate each and every one of you tuning in on Twitter. But you can't comment. You can't get involved in the show on Twitter still. So you got to head over to the Facebook or YouTube DSM pages so you can get involved in the conversation, because I want to hear from more of you. Yesterday's show had over 700 views on Twitter. I would love to hear from those 700 people about their thoughts. But you got to head over to Facebook or YouTube to comment on the show. So make sure you guys do that. Everybody have a great Thursday. Again, today's the day the music died. It's unfortunate. I'm going to play a little rock music here. It's cheesy rock music, but as we go off the air, I'm going to play a little rock music. I wish I would have had time to illegally download some Buddy Holly to go off the air. Our show would have gotten flagged and dinged, but I think I'm going to go find some Buddy Holly on XM Radio as soon as the show's over. Jason,
and as always,
as we always end every show, go Birds.